On Thursday, we'll see fair skies. Look for a chance of thunderstorms on Friday. And on Saturday, expect fair skies.
It's another busy morning in the tropics, but now Tropical Storm Beryl has moved inland over northeastern sections of Mexico. As it moves inland, the main threat, heavy rain, rock slides and mudslides and flash flooding the next 12 to 24 hours, especially in Mexico. Got some high terrain as the system moves inland, and that higher elevation terrain inland will enhance the rainfall, and there could be some serious problems over northeastern Mexico the next few days. South Texas, you're not immune to some flash flooding with Beryl, especially the next few hours as some of the heavier rain bands move in off the Gulf of Mexico. So here's the latest on Beryl. 4 a.m. Central Daylight Time, 24.2 north and 98 degrees west, 145 miles south-southwest of Brownsville, Texas, inland over northeast Mexico, so no further strengthening can be expected. In fact, the weakening trend is starting already. 45-mile-per-hour top sustained winds. The system moving west at 8, the pressure 1,009 millibars. Here's our colorized satellite picture, and there is without a doubt some heavy rainfall in association with Beryl in Mexico. And also up here in the South Texas region, especially near Corpus Christi, there's a cluster of squalls now moving in off the Gulf, not only producing the potential for flooding rain, but strong gusty winds the next few hours. And then things should begin to quiet down and dry out somewhat this afternoon and tonight. Well, the tropical storm warnings have been discontinued in the United States, but from the U.S.-Mexican border south to Tampico, tropical storm warnings remain in place. So that's the bottom line on Beryl. It has quickly moved inland over northeast Mexico on this Tuesday morning. To the Caribbean we go. Things are looking good and no problems at all for the islands today. Guadalupe's in fine shape. Antigua and over to the U.S. And British Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, an outstanding tropical summer day is in the forecast for you. Now in the mid-Atlantic, there's a swirl of low pressure, but with not much thunderstorm activity in association with it right now. But as it tracks on to the west, it'll encounter warmer water. So in the future, some organization is not out of the question. And the latest on hurricane, or actually tropical storm Alberto now. The track is now moving to the south towards warmer water again. Watch out for some additional strengthening after a weakening trend that has it down to 50-mile-per-hour sustained winds. Here's Alberto in the North Atlantic, a threat to shipping only. There's that swirl of low pressure in the Atlantic and a few disturbances, one well northeast of Puerto Rico we'll have to keep our eye on the next few days. In the Pacific, Ileana is now south of Baja California, top sustained winds 70 miles per hour. It is expected to become a hurricane and intensify and hit the southern part of Baja hard the next 12 to 18 hours with heavy rains up to 8 inches or more, and of course very strong winds. The pressure is falling through 990 millibars and the position 21.8 north and 109.8 west. And the latest on Hurricane Hector, a minimal hurricane well offshore, 75-mile-per-hour winds moving off to the northwest at 9. Here's Hector and Ileana strengthening south of the southern tip of Baja California. Back to the lower 48. Nice morning in the southeast while we have a cold front racing through the Great Lakes with heavy storms now in lower Michigan. Frequent lightning, heavy rain, and some hail in association with those thunderstorms at this hour. Heavy rain in South Texas, lighter rains in the northeast around our slow-moving low-pressure center, which is located just east of the Jersey Shore at this hour. It continues to be the main weather player until late tonight and during the day Wednesday, when the cold front over the upper Mississippi Valley will slide in and provide you with a wind shift and a change to cooler and drier weather for the day on Wednesday, late in the day on Wednesday and into Thursday. High pressure in the southeast, looking good, and a high pressure center moving into the northern plains. The severe thunderstorm watch, by the way, has been discontinued now by the Storm Prediction Center in Wisconsin. Look for heavy storms rumbling through the Great Lakes, reaching Cleveland, south to Louisville and Cincinnati. But the sun may make an appearance in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Atlanta, a little more humid today. Dallas, hot, but a pleasant day.
your forecast. On Thursday, we'll see fair skies. Look for a chance of thunderstorms on Friday. And on Saturday, expect fair skies.
Good day, I'm Bob Stokes and this is Stormwatch. In a moment I'll have an update on that area in southwestern Florida where there has been a tornado warning. There had been, that's expired, but I'll have an update on it. In the meantime, let's get an update on the tropics, including the status of what was Tropical Storm Beryl, and find out from our hurricane expert John Hope the statistics on that storm, which is now in Mexico. John?
Well, thank you, Bob, and good morning, everybody. That's right, Beryl has been downgraded now to a tropical depression. The center is well inland. That means it's going to continue to weaken. The only remaining element that we need to be concerned about at all relative to Beryl, of course, is heavy rain. And the heaviest rain by far seems to be in Mexico, although there are some rains up in Texas, the southern part. We think they'll be mostly beneficial up there, though. Now let's go ahead and have a look at the latest statistics on it. This just out from the National Hurricane Center an hour or so ago. It's centered at 25.0, 99.0, and that is 120 miles to the northwest of La Pesca in Mexico. It's moving toward the west-northwest at 9 miles per hour, and the estimated barometric pressure is 1,010 millibars. So much less threatening looking than it looked at this time yesterday. We feared it might even be a hurricane. That didn't happen. We're certainly glad of that. Looking at the radar, we can see where the center of circulation is, and it is well inland. It's continuing to move farther inland all the time. And once again, the rain in Texas is confined pretty much to the very southern part of Texas. It's been raining heavily up as far as the Corpus Christi area and on just north of the Rio Grande Valley. But down here in Mexico is where the core of the depression is. It was Tropical Storm Beryl. Now, Alberto is still with us, and it's kind of interesting because it's taken an unusual course now for a while. It's actually moving straight toward the south. Winds are down to 50 miles an hour. We think it's actually going to come down and come southwest and then eventually turn back up again. The reason it's going to do that is going around the high-pressure area that's up over the North Atlantic. It's making what we call an anticyclonic loop. Don't worry about it coming back to the United States, though. It's not going to come that far. And here we are looking at the satellite picture, and if you look at it carefully, you can see the center of rotation is moving off toward the south. A wider view of the Atlantic will show us where Alberto is. I did want to call your attention to a tropical wave here northeast of Puerto Rico. That doesn't seem to be developing, and the best we can see, there isn't much likelihood that that's going to develop. Out over the eastern Atlantic, we have a couple of active tropical waves, one here in the mid-Atlantic and another one right off the coast of Africa. Of course, we have a lot of time to watch those, nothing to worry about right away. Ileana here in the Pacific is very close to Cabo San Lucas at the tip of Baja California. The winds are 70 miles an hour, but the good news is it's moving towards the west-northwest, and we don't think it's going to get much of any closer to Baja. Nevertheless, hurricane warnings are actually up for the southern tip of Baja, and then we have tropical storm warnings up farther north than that, up to about 25 degrees of latitude at the southern tip of Baja. That'll do it this time for the tropics. Now let's get back to the USA weather with Bob Stokes.
Okay, John, thank you very much, our hurricane expert, John Hope. Well, there had been a tornado warning in effect for northwestern Lee County in southwestern Florida. That has expired, but there had been around Cape Coral sightings of a waterspout. and another one not far away. So we still have some unstable air and storms that are drifting toward the southeast, so please beware, and it's not a great time to be out on the boat, that's for sure, around Fort Myers and the Naples area. Otherwise, the biggest threat geographically of severe weather today is in the Midwest, where we got a threat from Detroit, actually west of Detroit, all the way into the Detroit area, or the Buffalo area. We'll be updating you during Weather Center coming up in just a few moments. Stay tuned for your local forecast.
Studies show that kids who participate in the arts are more likely to say they feel good about themselves. So drawing today will shape who they'll become tomorrow. The power of creativity. It starts with Crayola.
Can your business afford downtime due to bad power? Can your...
The forecast for your area. On Thursday, we'll see fair skies. Look for a chance of thunderstorms on Friday. And on Saturday, expect fair skies.
Thanks for joining us for Storm Watch. I'm Christina Abernathy. We will take a look at some wet weather around the country coming up, but first we want to take a look at the tropics, and our tropical update starts out with Tropical Depression Beryl, which has made a landfall and moved inland into Mexico. So it is dissipating here over land, but we are expecting the chance, at least, for some rather heavy rain out there. Here are the latest coordinates: 25.4 north, 100.3 west. The winds are now 30 miles per hour, and it's moving off to the west-northwest at 12 miles per hour. And again, it has moved inland into Mexico, but some of the effects are being felt in southern Texas, and that we're seeing some showers and thunderstorms out there. Now, you really could use the rain in Texas. It's been terribly dry, and while there is the potential for some flooding in extreme southern Texas, for the most part, the rain is going to be beneficial. Maybe not quite as beneficial in Mexico, where we are concerned about flooding and maybe even some mudslides with some of the heavier rain there. But here's the satellite view, and again, we can see that it has moved inland, and we can see that we are getting some rain out there around Brownsville, also up toward Corpus Christi, some scattered showers. We could see, again, some heavy amounts of rain here in southern Texas, and even more scattered showers here to the north. But our flash flood watch is in effect here in extreme southern Texas, so be alert to that possibility that you could have some locally heavy rains that could cause flooding. But again, for the most part, you could really use the wet weather here with the very dry conditions you've been seeing recently. A final satellite view shows, again, the Texas coast and on into Mexico. Now we want to head a little farther out into the Atlantic and take a look at Tropical Storm Alberto, which is centered at 36.4 north, 39.2 west. The wind's 45 miles per hour, moving to the southwest now at 9 miles per hour. The pressure 1,000 millibars. So again, it was headed generally off toward the east. Now it's taken more of a southwesterly turn, and it's actually expected to move west for a time around the periphery of an area of high pressure here. Eventually, though, it will curve back and again, just sort of rotate around the periphery of that area of high pressure. So we'll continue to watch it for you here. Also watching a couple of waves here moving off the coast of Africa, one here and then another just off the coast. At this point, they are not showing any signs of development, although we'll continue to monitor those for you. Now over into the Pacific, where we are watching Ileana here, which is moving away from the Baja. Here are the latest coordinates: 22.2 north, 111.1 west. That puts the center about 90 miles southwest of Cabo San Lucas. The winds are 70 miles per hour, and again, it is moving off to the west, moving away from land, so there is some good news for you. Although there is the possibility that it could strengthen some more, could further intensify. We'll monitor it, and we'll also monitor what's going on with Hector, which is actually expected to weaken as it moves off to the west at 14 miles per hour into some cooler water. The weakening trend should continue. So you can see here's Ileana and here is Hector. Not impressive at all. We're not seeing much convection with it. And again, it is expected to weaken. Well, that's it for the tropics. Let's take a look at what's going on across the U.S. And we are seeing some wet weather in the interior west and into the plain states. We could see some thunderstorms developing here in parts of the Great Lakes region toward the Ohio Valley. Scattered showers and storms for you along the Gulf Coast, including around New Orleans. But we've also seen that into parts of southern Florida, too. So watch out around the Keys, Key Largo in particular. You're seeing some of those storms. And watch out for the threat of severe weather here through the central and eastern lakes. And we'll have more on all of this coming up next on Weather Center.
There is an alternative to the ordinary. Pork, the other white meat.
With just one wish, if I could change my whole world around, I'd bring an autumn day inside or summer all year long. And if I could speak in color, what magic I'd reveal. Is this what peaceful looks like? Do you know how colors feel? Say hello, where to go, whatever you want.
On Thursday, we'll see fair skies. Look for a chance of thunderstorms on Friday. And on Saturday, expect fair skies.
Thanks for tuning in to Storm Watch. I'm Mike Bono. Some heavy storms moving on through upstate New York and Pennsylvania, even severe possibilities with damage. We'll take a look at that. But first, the tropics, and good news in that Beryl has been downgraded to something less than a viable tropical depression. Yes, still low pressure visible, and we see the rain still coming down very heavily in Mexico, but the effects in the U.S. were minimal. That last advisory coming in with the center northwest of La Pesca, Mexico as of 4 p.m. Central, 30-mile-an-hour winds and moving west-northwest at 12 still, but that also goes into higher terrain, so Mexico stands to really get very serious, if not life-threatening, flooding out of Beryl. We could see Brownsville, Texas. Yes, it has been raining. The seas have been up a little bit, maybe running a little high at times of high tide. It has been full moon, but it could have been a lot worse. And not a lot of high clouds. The highest, coldest cloud tops on the infrared photography show up in the bright colors. And yes, there are some pockets of heavy rain, but it's still raining very persistently here out to the west of Veracruz. And you know there's got to be some flooding, and in mountain slopes there could be mudsliding and even threats to life there. So Mexico definitely got the worst of this, and the rain not over yet. 24-hour totals in Texas, as you can see, less than an inch. And you could use the rain in Texas because things are very dry this time of the year, even on the Gulf Coast. Highest amount Corpus Christi with 79 hundredths. And the radar now showing some ground clutter and interference. You have to go west of the Rio Grande into Mexico, and that's where the rain is still going, more seriously toward the mountains. So some relief now for Texas, and doesn't look like much of an effect from Beryl, except West Texas could pick up some showers in the next couple of days. Tropical storm Alberto is still there. It was a major hurricane right about here when it started moving northeast, meaning Category 3 and 125 miles an hour, the first of those this season, but it's starting to do a loop. It started moving southward last night and now is doubling back to southwest. It'll probably retrace its path pretty soon, but winds are 45 miles an hour. We could see on the imagery that there's not a lot of color, a lot of high, deep convection. Nonetheless, the waters are marginal in temperature, and it may remain a tropical entity for a while, but it's weakening. Waters aren't really warm enough to sustain it very much, and it could even lose its convection pretty soon. If anything, it will turn around and go back up into the open Atlantic, so we're not really concerned that it's going to come back toward the States. Once again, here is Alberto. A weak disturbance, mid to upper levels, getting drawn into a trough off the east coast, which is a tropical storm killer. This has cool air with it and upper level wind shear, so nothing's going to get past that. But we are looking at something well south, spread out, a bit of a tropical wave that really hasn't shown signs of organizing yet, and we're going to have to wait and keep an eye on that and see what happens as it moves further west. Another tropical wave, typical but not very threatening tropical wave moving off Africa. They could develop this time of the year. Meanwhile, tropical storm Ileana never has made it up to hurricane force, and that's good news, and it's also now southwest of Cabo San Lucas. This one had the potential to really explode and hit the resort area very hard, but it never quite got up to speed. Yes, some rough seas and high waves and some rain, but it's still just short of hurricane strength, moving westward still, and that is out to sea. And the satellite imagery shows that we're not looking at a very threatening system, so good news for the resort towns in the Baja. Tropical storm Hector now down from hurricane strength last night at this time, moving out to the west once again, and that's quite a bit out to sea and looking very weak. Back to the States, we have a severe thunderstorm watch and a lot of threatening weather in the northeast, parts of the lakes, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York State. Strong storms moving into Jefferson County, potential wind damage and trees down from this, and we have some warnings in some counties in northwest Pennsylvania too. This threat goes out through the mid-morning hours in parts of New York, even into Vermont and maybe New Hampshire, so be on the lookout for that. We definitely will be seeing some action out of this frontal system moving through the Midwest between now and sometime Wednesday. More to come.
Presenting the ultimate tire for your sport utility vehicle, the Michelin LTX. Michelin's technological advances in sidewall and tread design give it a smoother, quieter ride than you might ever expect from a 4x4 tire. Yet it's rugged enough, tough enough, Michelin enough to get you through anything. The LTX series from Michelin.
Michelin tires are available at a dealer near you. Michelin, because so much is riding on your tires.
There is an alternative to the ordinary.